We are going live, really live. Hello and welcome. In fact, we are live now.
Happy.
Hello and welcome everyone to show number 70 of the JVology show. Jay Fazette here, the founder of JVology, the perfect mix of people, fun, and profit. And I'm here with my dear friend, Ben the Enneagram guy. There couldn't be more specific than that. He is the guy when it comes to Enneagrams. And our show, for those of you who do not know, this Facebook Live show, which we also broadcast on YouTube, is a way for us to share brilliant and amazing community members for JVology, the perfect mix of people, fun, and profit, with the world. Now, some of you know what JVology is, some of you don't, so I'll give you the sort of 5,000-foot view, and then we're going to hear from our dear friend Ben. So JVology is a community and a training organization that helps entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, small business owners really redesign their business model so that they get a steady stream of perfectly qualified free leads at the front end through brilliant JV partners and recurring passive income on the back end through brilliant JV partners with one aim, which is to help our clients solve their problems better. And we do that in lots of different ways. This show is one example of it. And by the way, if you're watching this show on Facebook, please know we share it everywhere under the sun. And what you should do is either click on the video or click on the phrase Jay Fazette right above there so that you can come to the broadcast page and we can talk. And when you come over to the broadcast page, say hello, tell us who you are, tell us where you're from so that we can chat and have a conversation. So this show is one way. We have a live event that we do on a regular basis, which is called JVology Live. Our next one is coming up in September online, where you're going to meet anywhere from 200 to 400 JV partners, get to practice your joint venture invitation and grow and scale your business through collaboration. We have a monthly membership called the JVology Global Lounge, where you can do your joint venture invitations with everyone in our entire community all across the world. And it puts you in front of deal flow. And it also, we have 2 calls a month. The other one is tech and strategy, how to put these pieces together so that they win. And we do consulting, we do coaching, we do done for you services, we do anything and everything in that domain. But here's the thing. If you want more information, go check out JVology Live as your starting point. But today we have one of our community members, a dear friend of mine, Ben. I'm a client of his. He has helped me and my team in a variety of different ways. And he is an Enneagram expert. So in a moment, he is going to come and tell you who he is, what he does, all that stuff. But first, we have to play the little video for JVology because I like the little video. Right, welcome back, Mr. Ben. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I get it why you like the video. It's very cute.
It is cute, but it's not quite long enough for me to either take a bite of my food or have a drink of my coffee or wine. So it's like I just need to slow it down. All right.
Right.
So let's start with like the 5,000-foot view of who you are, what you do, who you serve, and then let's dive into the mechanics of what you got going on right now, which is totally exciting.
Yeah. As you're introducing kind of what you're up to, I thought, part of what I'm in the midst of is really a big JV, even though we think of it as an Enneagram set of panels and kind of a unique way of getting the Enneagram information out into the world, but really it's a huge JV when I'm thinking about it, through your lens. Basically, I spend most of my time with one-on-one clients or supporting groups, going through self-exploration, personal transformation, really getting much better at forming solid, trusting relationships. And that can be solid, trusting relationships in the intimate way, in the bedroom, with your significant other, with your friends and your family members, or it can be in the working world with people that you want to collaborate with and build joint ventures with, and kind of take your business up to the next level with. So those are the groups. And then my individual clients are often thought leaders, CEOs, Superior Court judges, like pretty highly impactful folks who my belief is as they develop and grow in a spiritual sense, in a personal sense, that their circle of care gets broader and broader rather than just caring about the family or the neighborhood. We move it out to the state, we move it out to the country, we move it out to the world. And then we have people who have power making very different decisions. And I like that.
Thank goodness. Let's be clear. Yes. So without going too far down the rabbit hole, you serve a ton of people, including me and my team and my community.
Yeah.
Tell me the fundamental tool or premises that you utilize when you're serving folks like me or a superior court judge or any of the above.
Yeah. So basically, the way that we orient to this is the things that you're doing that are getting in the way of you having these solid, trusting relationships, you actually breaking through to the next level in your business, the next level of intimacy or love in your relationships. If you knew how to do it, you'd already have done it. So there's some belief structure, there's some fear, there's something that's going on for you that is unconscious, that is below the surface, that's causing havoc, and it's usually doing it in a systemic way. So you're kind of running up against the same thing, and you're not really sure why this is happening. And often your friends could,
everywhere I go,
they felt like
I was just thinking, everywhere I go, there I am.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
Sorry. Your friends can. You were saying something about the friends.
Yeah, your friends often have some sense of what it is that you're doing that's fouling things up, but they can't describe it to you. They can't quite put words around it, or you're not open to hear it from them. There's lots of reasons why we can't actually get an accurate reflection of who we are and how we're fouling things up. So what we've discovered is that the Enneagram, where's my Enneagram symbol here? The Enneagram does a very good job of letting you know what you're doing that's fouling up the works and how to shift it, how to transform it, how to get out of that old pattern that's keeping you from having the love and the connection and the trusting relationships that you want to have to really bring yourself out into the world. So that's good to know. Like, how are you getting in your own way? This is a big deal for a lot of people. Like, the lights go on.
Well, it does, but I want to just say something that is intended to be a huge compliment of you and the work, which is I was introduced to the Enneagram well over 20 years ago, the first time, and in my view, it was, and I said this to you, I may have a jaded view of many of the personality profiling types and all those sorts of things. In my view, is one other tool, like Yippee-yi-yay. But what you do that is so freaking artful, and I know we're going to talk about panels in a little while. It is not just the Enneagram type; it's the Enneagram type layered with your communication tools that you share and your artful facilitation that really puts this in a category, in my opinion, in a category of its own.
Yeah,
utterly and completely.
Yeah.
And so if any of you are on the line, it's like, oh yeah, I did the Enneagram 20 years ago. It's like, yippee. It's not the same. And if you have any recurring patterns going on in your life, I just would wholeheartedly encourage you to hang out, listen to what Ben says, and participate in some of the cool shit he's got going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. I have this feeling with the Enneagram. It's like a very tool that you can use at so many multiple levels of depth. You don't have the right facilitator, and he doesn't have adjunct tools, a way of using this and some art form of using it, that it can be just kind of well, that's kind of nice. I know that little thing about me, or I know that thing about my husband or my wife, but it doesn't really have the depth of transformation, of evolution, of like really breaking through some serious stuff so that your life, instead of going this way, it can go this way.
Yeah.
Choice points happen.
I love that.
When we see ourselves clearly, we move out of, when we're on automatic, when we don't see ourselves clearly, we only can respond from inside of our type. We're going to talk about your type and my type in a minute here.
So for any of you who want to know the background of my personal insanity, just hang tough. You will find out.
So, from inside, as a 7, from inside the type 7, if things get gnarly, if things get intense, it feels like the only thing to do is to leave. Just like run away. It's just like, what else would I possibly do with that much pain or that much intensity or that much anger coming my way? I just got to get out of there. From inside of the type 8, your personality type from inside of that type A when we're not functioning well. The only way to deal with that level of anger or something coming at you is to go at it, is to kind of like come back with my own intensity, my own anger, and my own force, and like, I'm going to show you, kind of thing. So we're kind of this.
Sorry, friends and family.
Yeah, we're kind of a one-trick until we get out of the constructs of our type. We think we have free choice. We think we're, choosing how to respond to this person and very adaptable. But I'm telling you, when it comes down to it, underneath these layers of delusion, we often, when the stress is on, when it's hard, we often resort to, what we typically do. Now, I want to tell a story about how this showed up really recently in the project that we're in the middle of.
Okay.
So people, just so you who are listening can kind of get a feel for how do we apply this in real life? What's the real life manifestation of type? So we're in the middle of a big program here. And in this program, we have 36 panelists, of which Jay is one. And we'll tell you what a panelist is and what a panel is very shortly here. Cherise, listen to Ben. Yes, Cherise.
Good. There's a couple of other team members in my world that would also endorse that hashtag.
Remember that. Okay. We've got, it's like, we have this 36 panelists, and pretty much every panel is a JV partner. There's a couple who are just kind of friends and have decided to join the panel, but almost all of these panelists are also joint venture partner, which means that they're mailing out to their list for this big program that me and Jay are going to tell you about. So one of the people, they didn't mail out. So they've got a huge email list of people they didn't mail out. I'm not going to tell you who the name is or even who their type is, what their type is, because I don't want you to be able to put the whole picture together. But they didn't mail out. And I was like, what's up with this? We had an agreement that you were going to mail out. And so a couple of days later, after my staff tried to reach out to them, and my staff didn't get any response back, and there was some like after that, So I reached out to them and I said, okay, there's some misunderstanding here. What's going on? So the relational skills to kind of go into misunderstandings and repair them, that's its own thing. Because most of the time, we humans are not good at repairing relationship after there's breakdowns. It's like, ugh. So we go into the repair of it. And halfway through that conversation, which is kind of intense, because I'm saying, hey, we had these agreements. You didn't do what you said you were going to do. What's going on here? You're putting some weird pressure on my staff. So we're having a pretty intense conversation. The person goes, Ben, I just want you to know there's no way I would have had this conversation. If somebody doesn't do the thing that I want them to do, and we have an agreement, I just kind of let them go and tootle on my way.
Yeah.
And they said, and it's because of my type. I don't like friction. I don't like conflict. So I'm not going to be calling somebody out if they don't do the thing the way I want them to do it, the way you're doing with me right now. Like, this is a weird thing. And I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, when I was caught 15 years ago in my type, I wouldn't be having a conversation either. I would have just gone my merry way and we had the conversation. So good news is that you're not trapped in your type. They can have the conversation. I can have the conversation. And you can learn skills. You can learn relational skills to repair these relationships. Now this person is going to be mailing out. We feel way more solid. I'm probably going to be helping her out in her business in the coming months and mailing out to my people for her and coaching her around a couple of things. So there's this, like, if you can learn how to do this, it will have bottom line tangible results.
Yes.
Like you'll touch more souls with your work. There will be more income in your pocket. This is, it feels kind of esoteric sometimes, or emotional, or removed. But the truth is, this is highly tangible, actionable, in the world stuff that we're doing. And if you get good at doing relationships, your world is going to change dramatically. That's what I wanted to tell your people, Jay. So,
well, it is true, and I guess the only thing to add to that is one of the difficulties of being trapped in the type is we don't know what we don't know. And, like even in your example of, even though I lean in, it's like, I also have a very, I think this is also a type 8 trait. I have a very thin degree of patience. And if something, if I can judge something as too silly or sometimes take a self-righteous stand about something, it will also help me to avoid having some of those conversations. Like if that's the spot, that's the spot. In fact, I think Corey had a meme the other day. It's like, I have neither the time nor the crayons to explain this to you. So it's less about the fear of the conflict or the desire not to have conflict. It's like, that's just an effing waste of my time. And if then I can take that sort of self-righteous judgmental view. But here's the truth of the matter: so when we're stuck in our type, we don't know what we don't know. And if that particular example didn't resonate with you, it's like, oh, I'd have that conversation. I'm sure you would. But if you're trapped in your type, there's about 17 other things that you don't know that you should still explore, in my humble opinion.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of the types, the type 8s, the version of the type 6 that are, when you kind of move into a deeper understanding of those types and how they show up in the relationship, it's not as much that those types are avoiding confrontation. They're usually leaning into it when they're wrapped up in the type. They're over aggressive, and that costs them. Then people are shying away. They're like, oh God, I don't want to create a relationship with that person. I want to support them. They're mean. They're aggressive. They're overwhelming. They're too much. This particular version of 6 and the 8, sometimes the 3s, there's like people behind them that are like, oh, that person took advantage of me or overstepped their boundaries or squashed me or what. So there's a really different way that they foul up relationships that they're unaware of. And so all this kind of going to sleep to ourselves and not doing well in relationships is largely the result of not a lack of self-understanding. And the Enneagram is super precise at mapping out unconscious motivations and why you do what you do so that you can break out of it.
Love that. Okay, so if somebody's sitting there going like, okay, so I'm kind of intrigued, and maybe there's some stuff I don't know, or some patterns that I do know that I don't know what the hell to do about. What's the best way for them to experience the work, to get a taste of it? Because I know you got a cool challenge going on right now. I don't know if we can still drive people to that. If they could play catch up, talk to me about what the best place to start is.
Yeah, I just put a couple of links in the private chat to you.
Okay, perfect.
So we got 2 options for people here. We got one, you can come into our 5-day challenge. We're just in day 3, and the timing is good because tomorrow in this challenge, we will release our Enneagram test to people. And you get to take that test for free. You get to discover your type. You get to, tomorrow in the afternoon at 4:30, I'll act out the 9 types. I will become Sybil, the multiple personality, all 9 types. And you get to ask me questions, and I get to tell you about what is it like from inside the type. It's a fun
For some people, that's easier than for others.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
I'm teasing. It's all good. Okay, and I'm just putting the link in the relational challenge here. So anybody who wants to do that, and they will have the test as a part of the challenge, right?
Yeah.
So they'll be able to at least discover first line of the test, and then really they should back up and try and get caught up on those assignments, because the way you designed it is quite marvelous for them to have a true breakthrough.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you'll be learning and practicing relational skills. So it's a good idea to back up and watch the other 2 videos so that you can kind of catch up with everybody. And it's hot, like 600 people in this challenge. So there were a lot of people for you to connect with and have fun with. And the evening session, every evening at 4:30, we're practicing the skills together. And it's a sweet group. There's a lot of connection. There's a lot of authenticity, a lot of edgy conversations that we're working through. Because we're learning relational skills. We're learning how to kind of do relationships well so that you can repair relationships. So that's the 5-day challenge. Now, the other link that I gave you there, Jay, is for the connection experience. This is you really get a hold of the 9 types in depth. So Jay will be type.
This is where Ben made me cry.
Ah, yes. This is, I thought I was going to cry, because when you all cry, the 8s, so as kind of crusty as they are on the outside and aggressive as they are on the inside, that's how big the heart underneath is for the 8s. There's a reason they're kind of protecting, is because there's this huge, enormous, vulnerable heart underneath, and that, when you see that on a panel, the way you relate to the 8 will shift. You will build compassion for them. They will not be so scary. And that's what. Can
I just share a context around that for those of you who have to put up with 8s or are an 8 or might be an 8 as yet unidentified?
Yeah.
When I did my first personal transformation program when I was like, I don't know, I've been 18 or 19. I ultimately ended up buying that company and running it for like 25 years. But when I walked through the doors, I was very clear about who I was and how I was, which was, I hate people. And if people would just F off, my life would be just fine if I didn't have to put up with those dumbasses and all the judgments and stuff that I had to have people, to push people away before something else would happen, right? And it was in that week where I was like, son of a bitch, that is the biggest lie in the universe. The truth is, I love people. I'm just freaking terrified of being hurt.
Yeah.
So I'll chase them away before getting hurt. So it's like, and it was just the entire piece of how it was like getting slapped in the face of, I know I hate people because my life works better without them, frankly. To it's like, oh, son of a bitch, I don't hate them. I actually fucking love them, but that's a whole different scary kettle of fish I don't want to talk about.
Exactly. And it's so, like, it is not uncommon that people who've done a bunch of their own personal work have hit a couple of these beliefs of their type. They might not get how the whole thing held together. There's some beliefs that they haven't seen and others that they have, but they've usually, like, if you've done some real self-exploration and you know, this is not your first time through the self-development washing machine.
Tumbler, let's just call it a tumbler. It's polishing off the rough edges.
If this is not your first time through that tumbler, you've probably seen some aspects of your type. Maybe not all of the bits and pieces, but there's some aspects of your type you've already seen. Now, Jay will be on that tape 8 panel. I hope I can make him cry again. There will be other 8s on that panel, so that we call it a deep dive panel. So there'll be 3 or 4 people, all of them 8s, all of them the type 8, and that's on the 8th day of this event. Now, what that means is there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days before that. And on the first day, on day 1, it'll be type 1. So there'll be 3 or 4 people, all type 1. Really diving into, sharing, going there around what is it like to be a type 1. Then there'll be type 2 on day 2. And we'll get to see them. Now, you'll feel the energy difference is so dramatic. Like on the type 2 panel, they're all nice, they're connected, they wait for each other to talk, their hearts are open. You'll see, like on the 3s panel, they'll talk over each other. On the 8th panel, they might energetically push each other out of the way, even though they can't reach each other. There's just a different way of being that you see on these panels. You will get them, and therefore the people in your life, like you have never gotten people before. Wouldn't it be nice to know why your dad does that weird thing he does to you?
I want to know a lot of things, not that.
Why your sister or why your kids are, like, to be able to navigate your kids' triggers so that instead of distancing from you, they open their hearts and they come towards you and you feel more connected with them. Like, I can't tell you how many parents have come to me after discovering the type of their kid and going, thank God, now they'll talk with me. I stop unconsciously or accidentally stepping on their buttons and their soft spots because I didn't know their type.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know how to do it. I know how to work with the type fives. The poor fives are getting chased around by everybody on the Enneagram because they're the more kind of introverted. I want to be alone. I want to be by myself. And if you have a kid who is a 5 and their parents are a 2 or an 8 or one of the more kind of in your dish types, the poor kid just gets overwhelmed.
I like the puppy metaphor, by the way, in your dish types.
The poor kid was like, man, my parents are so invasive. Leave me alone for a minute. I gotta go think. And the parents are like, what's wrong? What's wrong, Junior? And it just doesn't work. So when we kind of discover they're a 5, and we can go, oh, okay, we got to give them some time alone. We got to kind of allow this recharge of the battery before they can actually come out of their space and meet other humans. And that's not, we just stop taking personally. It's not like they don't like me. They just don't want to be around anybody. and that knowledge allows you to stop pressing them and pushing them to be something that they don't want to be.
A quick question.
Yeah.
With some different personality types, they say that it takes a certain amount of life experience or independence, those sorts of things, to actually sort of land on the type. Do you have opinions about at sort of what age on average the Enneagram it is becoming pretty accurate for kids that might still be in the flux and the defining of who I am and how I am and all those fun, wonderful things?
Yeah, before having my own child, I used to really go back and forth between this: is it nature, is it nurture? Are we born with our type, or did this emerge from some kind of trauma from our parents, how they mistreated us in a certain way, and so then this is okay, now my type is kind of solidified in. Having had a child and seeing a little baby, she was not like the other babies. There were some babies that came out and they were just like little Buddha type 9 babies, and unflappable, untouched. Life was good for them.
Mm-hmm.
Our baby was not like those babies. Like, God, oh, you're too close. Whoa, it's too hot. Oh, geez, it's just like life was intense from like the very beginning. And so within 6 months, we were like, well, she's probably either a 4 or an 8. This level of intensity that we're seeing here and the way that she's responding. And by the time she's 1 or 2, we were pretty sure. And by the time she was 3 or 4, we were like, this is a type 4. Like, we've just an exaggerated sense of loss. And it's not like we've abandoned her. She's had parents the whole time. She's quite loving, We're really skilled in how to nurture and connect. And she still feels this intense sense of loss anytime something leaves her. We just had to let go of a puppy. Oh my God, it was so horrendous. Even though we only had the puppy for 2 or 3 weeks, it was just devastating for her.
Yeah.
And this is what we see in type 4s.
Got it.
There is an exaggerated sense of loss and leaving, been abandoned, even if they haven't really been abandoned in a significant way that you would think would cause trauma.
Yeah. Got it. Interesting. You should come live at our house for a week and identify our 2 boys.
Yeah. Lightning. So do you have a link that you could put up? I sent you the link.
I believe I've already put both of them up. We got both of them up. So there is the panels link, which I just titled the panels link, and then there's the challenge link just above it. So both of them are there, and honest to goodness, you should do both. Like, just as simple and as straight as I can say it, do both. And I'll share my perspective of it, is that the 5 days is a phenomenal playground to discover and practice what is necessary for you to transform relationships. And I don't think there's a better guide in the entire universe than Ben. And then the panels is going to deepen that understanding. And I'm honored to be, I think the second time I'm on a panel, but even participating on a panel and seeing a bunch of the people that are seen to be like me is entertaining. There's lots of great breakthroughs there. But sometimes it is necessary, in my view, to sort and separate so that we can begin to discern the distinctions. And I think that that's really been what you do stunningly well in those panels. And I'll say this to everybody listening here, is that I've been trying to talk Ben into not calling them panels, because I think that they supersede any panel I've ever been on in terms of the leadership, the facilitating, the depth and the structure. But honest to goodness, you should do both, in my humble opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've got the connection experience, those deep dive panels, the set of 9 deep dive panels. That's usually $497, and it's down to $197 now. So like, jump in, get it. Yeah, it's a thing. Charisse, your daughter sounds very passionate. She is. We have a very passionate. She's gonna change the world. You know this.
Maybe she'll be an actress. Love that.
Yesterday, she and her friend put on a little show and wanted us to video record it. She's already moving in that direction. I think
I love that. And how old's your daughter? I know I met her, but I don't know how old she is.
5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
10 going on 16. And she's a handful. And she knows the Enneagram. So sometimes she's like, Dad, you're just being such a 7 right now.
I love that.
Dad, this is not how it is. You know, it's interesting to have somebody that sharp and that kind of knowledgeable about what's going on.
That is fascinating. Okay, so in terms of this whole piece, any sort of closing thoughts for people who might be on the fence about it? And I'll say my closing thoughts first, and then anything you think that can really help people. Because, I mean, let's be clear about this. Right this second, with the influence and the impact of COVID and the perhaps craziest time in our lifetimes, in terms of what's going on. But relationships are more taxed today than ever. In fact, it's funny. I was just watching a little broadcast from Esther Perel, who I've been privileged to work with her a couple, and just talking about the fundamentals of relationships. 2,000 people watching, and she doesn't have a digital marketing thing, any of those sorts of things. It's just the need for relationship support right now is completely off the hook. You know, I live in a street full of doctors, and things like domestic violence, things like child abuse, for goodness sakes. Like there's a bunch of incredibly painful, difficult symptoms of people not being able to cope and people not being able to actually relate, that are showing up magnified tenfold or 100-fold because people can't avoid and run off to work, because people are stuck in tight quarters, because all of these pieces. And you know, my hope and prayer is that nobody watching this is in any sort of danger or the way of harm. But here's what I do know is, even if you're not, you are in the way of stress. You are in the way of trauma. You are in the way of, what the hell do I do in the absence of who I thought I was before this event occurred? Mm-hmm. And in my humble opinion, every single person, this is one of the reasons I really wanted to share you with our tribe, every single person who doesn't believe this, and I mean, Corey and I have been teasing about this, and certainly we've had our ups and downs in this process, our hashtag best pandemic ever. And I say that only to people that I'm pretty sure have a bit of a sense of humor, but even there, sometimes it's like, are you serious? Do you know what just, okay, perhaps it's not, but here's my point, is that if the experience of this hasn't brought you closer together, if the experience of this hasn't heightened your self-care, if the experience of this hasn't cause you to have more inspirational and creative thoughts, then my judgment and perspective is that this experience is actually causing more friction, internal difficulties, and strife, all of which Ben can support with. And you can go and start and play with it for free in the challenge. And if it begins to open some of those doors and ease that path, then for crying out loud, then you also do the panels. But this is just something I believe every single person, if they're not like screaming from the rooftops, this is the best thing that's happened to me in the last 10 years of my life, which frankly, I can actually say that, then you should, and by the way, and I still did the work with you. But if you can't say that, you have to.
Yeah.
What's that?
I think our work might be something to do with why this is such a good pandemic for you.
I have no doubt about that.
So when we make that kind of shift and connection with the people around us, a whole pandemic can become a joyful experience.
Because it is a beautiful opportunity to be with our people.
Yes.
And I know the other side of that isn't always a ton of fun, but it's a pretty beautiful opportunity to be with our people.
Yeah. I mean, what I was going to say, my kind of closing would be very similar to what you just described. Like, we are not at the mercy of our relationships. We are not at the mercy of the pandemic. There is something that can shift for how we show up, how you show up. That when things are feeling like they're sliding downhill and it feels like you're parting ways with people, that you can come back together, that things can start moving up, that you're not at the mercy, that you can develop, you can develop a self-awareness, you can develop an understanding for what's happening for the other people in your life, and you can become way more masterful, like a keto master with the relational dynamics. So if you want to learn, come play, because we're really good at teaching. I'd like to teach you. So that's all I want.
I saw something on Facebook, and it was one of those things that grabbed me so much. It's like, I'm totally going to remember that. I don't need to copy it, and I don't really remember it. but the essence of it was simply this: was that even for those of you that are having some taxing times and difficulties, the truth of the matter is that most great relationships, most great people have faced great challenges and difficulties, and have come through it in a manner where they saw themselves more accurately, where they were able to tell themselves some epic truths, and where they were able to face what got them there and what will get them to the next step and stage. And those aren't easy things to do. They're easy to say, but they sure as hell are not easy to do. But the process that Ben works with provides a framework and a direction. And if any of you are in any of those spots, for goodness sakes, click the link, get yourself registered, dive in, do all of the work. I will see you in a couple of the rooms. I will see you in the panels. Ben and I will be around to haunt you and entertain you. And we, fingers crossed that it truly makes a meaningful and significant difference for you.
Well said, brother.
All right. Thank you for being here. I know you got a couple of things on the go right now. So we will see you soon, and have a fantastic afternoon.
Beautiful. Thanks.
Okay. Take care, brother. Bye-bye.